Hello to all the dear viewers of the channel. In this video, we want to address our main topic. If God did not create humans, then how did all these complex organs come into existence? Stay with us until the end of the video and don't miss any part of it. Every moment of this video is the result of valuable research by our great philosopher and scientist, Richard Dawkins. The probability of the world coming into existence is not greater than the probability of a tornado blowing through a junkyard and assembling a Boeing 747. This was said by a creationist named Hoyle, and it's one of the most powerful arguments used by creationists. But you should also consider this point. If you equate God with that Boeing 747, then what else do you have left to say? Darwin, who introduced the theory of evolution or natural selection, is one of the answers to this argument. Before Darwin, philosophers like Hume had realized that intelligent design seemed unlikely, but they had no other alternative. And after Darwin came and presented this theory, many philosophers turned to it. And dear viewers, if you don't know what Darwin's theory of evolution is, be sure to let us know in the comments so we can make a detailed episode explaining Darwin's theory and evolution for you. For example, in Darwin's theory, it is said that the wings of a dragonfly or the eyes of an eagle, which are so intelligently designed, before Darwin, people thought that these were the result of intelligent design. But now, according to Darwin's theory, it is said that these have reached such advancement completely naturally through the process of evolution. A wise philosopher named Daniel Dennett presents a very interesting theory which he calls bottom-up. What does that mean? A spear has never made a spear maker, nor has a pot ever been able to make a potter, or a horseshoe a blacksmith. But we humans are beings who have created a creator for ourselves. Many viewers have asked me to recommend some good books on this subject. One is Victor Stenger's book titled Has Science Found God? The answer is no. I recommend it to you. If you're interested, go ahead and read it. And if you want, let us know and we can turn this book into a video for you. And Peter Atkins in his book Creation Revisited states that God's workload is so minimal and useless that in fact one could say he does nothing at all. The God that he envisions has even less to do and is even more pointless than the God imagined by the deists. Woody Allen also says that if there is a God, I don't think he is evil because he is an idle, inactive, and essentially useless God.
No one would believe that a camera came together by a random explosion of its parts. So how can a plant like the Dutchman's pipe, which sets traps, times their release and captures prey, be just a product of chance?
The main issue is that the more improbable a phenomenon is, the less likely it is to be accidental. And in a book written by the Watchtower Society, in fact, many such examples have been given. The abundance of examples does not reinforce or confirm this point. In fact, the Dutch pipe that traps insects, dusts them with pollen and transfers it to other plants is not evidence that these are the result of intelligent design. Rather, these have come about through a process of natural selection. While creationists only consider two options. Either it is the result of chance or it is a product of design and creation. A third option must also be considered for such examples, which is natural selection and the emergence of these features over millions of years. And there are other examples found in creationist books as well. For example, photosynthesis in plants, from tiny plants to large ones like giant trees, produces 70 chemical reactions during the process of photosynthesis. They argue that this cannot be the result of chance, and the only answer they offer is intelligent design. But again, we emphasize that this is the result of natural selection and evolution, and in fact, creation itself. It's true that it solves a small problem, but in reality, it sidesteps a much bigger issue, which is the creator itself. In fact, natural selection breaks down this complex problem into smaller components where only the initial part could be the result of chance or any kind of occurrence. It's like climbing an impossible peak. Creationists see a peak in front of them with a very steep slope, and consider it the result of creation. But if we look from the other side of the peak, there is a gentle slope. Over centuries or millions of years, this impossible peak has been reached. And as a cautionary note, we must say, never claim that something possesses an impossible complexity. Either you haven't thought about it enough, or you haven't examined it carefully.
Despite all these issues that science cannot explain, why don't you see God?
This approach is actually a kind of logical fallacy. When science cannot answer something, they fill the gap with God. In fact, their God is the God of the gaps. And as science gradually fills these gaps, they once again fill the remaining gaps with that same God. In fact, anything that science does not have an answer for is filled in with the idea of intelligent design. For example, we might ask how the joint of a very rare frog's knee works. You can explain it with evolution, and when science has not yet figured out how to justify this through evolution, creationists take advantage of this and make headlines in the newspapers. The knee of this rare frog is the result of God's design, while in reality this should be given as a project to a master student, and we should search in libraries to examine the results, which might take years. Pay attention to this example. Two magicians named Penn and Teller, who are world famous and renowned magicians, shoot at each other in front of firearms experts and scientific specialists, and astonishingly, Teller's bullet ends up in Penn's mouth and Penn's bullet in Teller's mouth. Naive people say that this is something unnatural and supernatural, so they call it a miracle. Whereas people like us say that this is a scientific thing, a scientific phenomenon that our minds have not yet understood, and we do not have an answer for it. When we see a magician easily bending a spoon with his mind, we shouldn't call it a supernatural phenomenon. Rather, it should be examined scientifically. And some people ask, if one of our organs is removed, does our body become incomplete? For example, in its absence, a person becomes meaningless altogether, or the absence of certain organs causes dysfunction in other organs. To answer this question, we can use the example of arched vaults. When these arches are constructed, they are built with scaffolding and extra stones, and later these scaffolds and stones are removed, leaving behind a curved arch that does not collapse even under great pressure. But if just one piece of this arch is removed, the whole structure will completely collapse. The structure of organs or other complex structures may have been built in a similar way, with scaffolds that existed in the past but have since disappeared, so that what we see today is only the final result as we observe it now. Another example we can mention is the flagellar motor of a bacterium, which is an extraordinary phenomenon, and creationists claim it is the result of intelligent design. But in reality, the flagellar motor has evolved from the proteins that make up the TSS. In fact, this protein performs the same function in smaller components, and the bacterium has utilized this function elsewhere to propel itself forward. Essentially, this bacterium burrows through water to move. Why did I say burrow? Because the water pressure on the bacterium is not like swimming, but rather like moving on a jelly-like substance, where the motion of this motor pushes it forward. In fact, this bacterium has this function thanks to a protein that previously served a different purpose, but now is exclusively used for another function. Many organs and many phenomena may have experienced similar events in the past which are not observable today, and it is unclear how they evolved to their current state. Of course, numerous projects need to be carried out to answer these questions. For example, if you do not know how these organs came into existence or how they function, scientists should not lazily make presumptions, but rather continue their research. Is the complexity of the photosynthesis process dizzying? Yes. Should we avoid seeking the truth and instead replace it with the idea of intelligent design? This is a more correct solution. No, rather we should seek the truth. And scientists should not abandon these mysteries and simply attribute them to God. Of course, the theory of Darwinism has not always worked perfectly either. For example, from lower back pain to hernias, from sagging breasts to sinus infections, all of these are the result of hundreds of millions of years during which we were four-legged creatures, and after evolving to walk on two legs, these ailments have appeared in us. It seems that predators hunt their prey with remarkable skill, And is God on the side of the predator or the prey? What do you think? Well, up to this point in the video, we've explained how all this complexity started out as very small details that through natural selection have reached this stage. In the next video, we'll examine how these small components that existed at the beginning actually formed. Should we consider those initial small components to be the result of intelligent design, or is there an anthropic principle at play? So, as not to leave you too curious, I'll give you a hint. The anthropic principle, if you're really curious, you can look it up yourself. But if you can wait, we'll explain it to you fully in the next video. And if you do study it and we provide our explanations, you can share your thoughts with us. Also, I should tell our dear channel viewers that in order to interact with you more frequently each week, we've made the videos shorter, but we'll be sharing the topics with you across multiple videos. If you would like us to cover the topics more thoroughly but make the videos longer, be sure to let us know in the comment section. And from this point on, for viewers who are watching this video for the first time, I should mention that we put ourselves in the shoes of the world's great researchers and philosophers and share their perspectives with you in the form of videos. For those who don't have time to research and study, by watching our videos for just a few minutes each week, they can see research on the world, life and religion from great philosophers and researchers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to watch upcoming videos.